Racial discrimination is linked to PTSD symptoms, and this 2025 study explored why. And I'm going to talk about this study, but I want to be clear about what the researchers found and how I think about that in a clinical context. My name is Annika. I'm a registered clinical counselor practicing in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I specialize in providing EMDR for people who have experienced trauma. So what we already know from peer-reviewed literature and lived experience is that people of color, especially Black people, show higher rates of post-traumatic stress symptoms, even when controlling for trauma exposure. And the gap isn't explained by socioeconomic status alone, which is why discrimination has become central to trauma research. Just for a bit of context, trauma models agree on one very important thing, and that's that the development of post-traumatic stress disorder, of PTSD, is not only about the exposure to threat. It's about the meaning the brain makes of that exposure and of that experience. This meaning-making process can be conscious or subconscious, but it shapes the way that we interact with ourselves, the world around us, and other people. Examples of commonly held beliefs after a traumatic experience include, I'm inherently damaged, I can't trust other people, or the world is a really bad place. And this meaning-making process and the emphasis on the meaning that we make of traumatic experiences explains why two people can be in the exact same experience, think a car crash, and yet only one of them will develop PTSD. The way we make meaning is influenced by our family, our community, and our culture. And earlier research has found that after trauma, Black people may be more likely to develop negative beliefs about the world and less likely to blame themselves. This is as compared to white people, and it suggests a different pattern in the meaning-making process, which of course is very important to PTSD research. This 2025 study specifically looked at two variables that may or may not affect the meaning-making process of Black individuals who've experienced trauma. The first variable was the post-traumatic negative cognitions, like the thought that I'm inherently damaged or the world is inherently bad. And the second variable was stereotype beliefs, which is different from internalized racism, and rather it's the awareness of what dominant culture and how dominant culture perceives you, and how this can create more post-traumatic stress. The researchers wrote that they did expect discrimination to predict PTSD symptoms, especially when those negative cognitions were more deeply entrenched. But in the undergraduate study that they examined, they actually found no racial difference in PTSD symptoms. They also didn't find that negative cognitions or stereotype beliefs strengthened the discrimination to PTSD symptom link. The authors point to low symptom severity and the potential protective factor of the college context as potential explanations for the results of this research. And so the next part of this video is my clinical interpretation of the study's findings. And in short, it's that meaning-making doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens within your nervous system, and it's influenced by your environment, your culture, your community, and a bunch of other external and internal factors. When someone is faced with discrimination on a chronic basis and is offered little support, it leads the nervous system, the mind, the body to say, what does this say about me? And to feel as if you're under threat or you are a threat, oftentimes. And over time, this way we make meaning of the constant threat that we're under can morph into fixed beliefs, which is not a cognitive distortion, but rather an adaptive response that the nervous system has to chronic constant threat. And so the final note that I'll leave you with is that PTSD risk lives at the intersection of threat, meaning making, and support.